This is your daily briefing, and you are most welcome to it. I bet you're all looking forward to this, weren't you? Fantastic game of football last night. So proud to be a loyal, long-serving supporter of this amazingly well-run football club. I've been through the stats, and I have to say the numbers don't really reveal anything that we don't already know. Nobody had a particularly awful game, but what was across the board, and it's been the word that's been used a lot in the post-match analysis from everybody else, but it's absolutely spot on, there's a problem with creativity. However, I'd like to just drop this in because this hopefully will set the tone, and I don't want to do the I told you so, but we need to make the decision if we're going to look at things rationally or not, because this sort of near hysteria, oh yeah, he looks really good, that's fantastic when you see a child opening their Christmas presents, but when you see people talking about weighing up the situation, the expenditure of a football club, it's a little bit naive. So given that Rennes and are not Real Madrid, can we just take a couple of things to get them squared off? One is that Bryan Gil is 20 and not Ginola with a Big Bang Theory haircut. This guy isn't going to change the world for us. He's a great prospect, nice kid, got some successful dribbles in last night, but there was nothing really to report. And this is going to sound dreadfully negative, but here's the amount of times that he lost the ball, okay? But the problem is, he wasn't dreadful. It's just that that's all he and others did. So had their faults been counterbalanced by great through balls, smart passes, exciting crosses, you know, the usual stuff that makes the magic of football happen, then we wouldn't be talking about them. But all we do have after this game are the dregs and leftovers that are really quite unappealing. The other one, Gollini, yet to finish any game for Spurs with a clean sheet yet. This is nothing personal against the guy. He seems to me like a very personable young man. Says me sounding like I'm 1,000 years old. But the reality is he's not a great goalkeeper. I don't think he's been hit by a series of wonder strikes from anybody. I just don't think he's a particularly brilliant goalkeeper. And again, we go back to the reality thing, opposed to going, ooh, he looks really... He's already failed once on these shores. Doesn't mean he can't try again. I'm not being completely nasty, but he was cheap. He was inexpensive. And the idea that this is succession planning for Hugo Lloris, who might get one more season at Spurs, terrifies me. Cristian Romero, that was the other one of our big signings. Is he going to be match fit for Chelsea? I'll buy everybody an ice cream if he's match fit. How can he possibly be match fit? He's been in Croatia with Lo Celso, with a physio and a sports scientist. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. Got some Twitter wisdom here. One guy says, we need our DNA back, according to Levy. Unfinished business. You couldn't invent it. So he hires a bang average manager who plays boring football. Cheap, and he won't complain with bang average signings. That's why. You can't blame Nuno. It's his style. It was the same at Wolves. Levy hired the bloke. Levy didn't back and sacked Poch. You've got to be careful how you say that, by the way. Defensively, Spurs weren't terrible. If we start going through the people by names, although Davis and Doherty were utterly uninspiring, and there's more on Doherty to follow. Davis, in particular, was a curious character. He made several forward runs that were summarily ignored by all his teammates. I don't know if you spotted it as well, but he made these great inroads into the sort of final third. Nobody paid him any attention, and he wasn't marked. Oliver Skip was flat by his own standards, and the performance was representative of Spurs, generally speaking. Again, it wasn't that he did that much wrong, and here's how many times he lost the ball. It's just that in isolation of him doing anything particularly exciting, that's all we had left to stare at. Tonga Dembele provided the usual flashes, but can he sustain this? 80 minutes, he looked absolutely done in, and is he physically in a condition to feature against Chelsea? I'd be really surprised. I hope he does, but I can't tell you that based on that game that I think he's going to be ready and spun round and ready to go again at the weekend. If Dele Alli is our secret weapon, then we're seriously in trouble. He wasn't on for very long, but he simply didn't offer anything. Harry Kane was undoubtedly our best player, but we had to haul him off after less than an hour because he's needed on Sunday. And I just want to make one thing really clear, because it's very easy to throw stones at a team and a setup. But what we're looking at here is nothing to do with bad luck. Sanchez, Romero and Lo Celso's Jolly Boys outing ought to have been assessed by the club. Do we have an executive board at Tottenham? Did we not recently employ a director of football? I understand that the Don, and the picture's coming up now for you, was wandering about on the grass with a phone in hand. Perhaps he ought to have spoken to the Argentinian health authorities or FIFA on one of his numerous and now idiotic calls. If you need cheering up, take heart from these quotes from Matt Doherty, and I hope you're sitting down. We are working on the lack of creativity. We are aware we are lacking in chances and goals this season. We have only scored 3 league goals. We are aware and we need to keep the door shut at the back. But then when we have the ball, we need to start creating. And having our ability, we have to go forward in the team. If we keep working on it and keep changing in the right position, if we keep working on it and keep getting in the right positions, things will change. This is abysmal. This is what I mean. This is a grown-up writing these words, which is why it's so difficult to read out. So it's so poorly expressed. The truth is that nobody's creating very much at all. Maybe Sonny and Kane, and then some way in third we have Tongi. But the sparks at Spurs, they're noticeable by their absence. We steadfastly bought nobody in the transfer window who might effect meaningful change. Nobody to even replace Bale. And I said this to you the other week. Not replacing Bale. And a Bale who I was quite open about, that had scored, 16 goals, and people telling me, oh, what great value it was. They were all against pub sides. Like, no disrespect to anybody trying to kill anybody here, but Ren, you're not that good. You're like Tottenham. Used to be a Champions League side. And the effective word in that phrase is used to be. It was Bale we were missing last night, and Bale last night could have created something. Dele Alli is doing a good impression of someone looking busier, but he's yet to achieve anything of note. And you can't debate that with me. That's not up for debate. That's not an open question. The answer is clearly no. Yeah, sure, he's moving about a bit, but we're getting... I tell you how glacial his improvement is. And this is real Nerdsville here, but his offensive tackling has marginally improved. One guy on Twitter, Dele Alli, the sooner he's at Watford, the better for everyone. Lo Celso might be a suggestion, and I know a lot of you, or a good number of you, don't care for this thought at all. But is anyone going to seriously suggest that he's coming back from Croatia in a match-fit condition? So well done to all of you perpetuating the myth about Paratici and troweling on the disinformation that clogs this club at every single turn. And Forza Spurs left a comment on theboyhotspur.com. Yep, everyone blamed Jose when the players were playing similar to the end of the Poch era. Even Kane came out and said that Jose wasn't the one who told them to sit back. There is a loser's mentality at Spurs. Nuno said after the game that he was worried and immediately realised that he'd misspoken. And that's the clip I put up first thing this morning, talking to the Spurs microphone Waller. Chelsea preview, be with you tomorrow. Make sure you're up bright and early for that. And I've done some footage for the official Chelsea site, and I'll pop a link in there, and they do a sort of behind enemy lines interview. And I think that will actually be going out on Sunday. Okay, so that's where we are, folks. We're now beginning to see, after those 3 fragile wins at the beginning of the season, we're now beginning to see where the problems are. The gaping chasms that we have in the squad, creatively especially. And like I say, the business of these players being away on this Argentinian fiasco where the game was cancelled after 5 minutes, Tottenham don't have immunity from that. They don't say, oh, well, it's unfortunate. A well-run business gets its teeth into all these things and makes sure they don't happen. It's as simple as that. So whilst some of you will be sitting there saying, oh, this guy hates Levy, he just can't say a nice word. Every single opportunity he gets, everything. You're the same clowns that didn't mind the cost of the stadium going 2 or 3 times over budget and being over a year late. This guy, he's got a magic touch when it comes to pedantically messing about with things and helping things to go wrong. How you lose 3 key players to a tournament that the country didn't even want. This is just mismanagement. And who do you look for? You look for the board. Can't wait for the Chelsea game, because at long last we're going to play a real up and coming, up and coming, but a real top of the range football club. And I would be amazed if the result is favourable. Good luck and keep it Tottenham, despite them.